to do the tough work of saving our country and serving the people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Tulsi. I heard that might happen, but I wasn't sure. And it happened, because she's really an amazing person. So I look forward to working with Tulsi and everybody in this room, actually. And as Tulsi mentioned early this morning, Tulsi and I were at Arlington National Cemetery with the families of service members who lost their lives in the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that we withdrew, but the way they did it. We were going to do it with dignity and strength. We were in the process of getting out. We would have never given up Bagram, one of the biggest air bases in the world, 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. We gave it up. We gave them everything. China took it over. China now occupies it. Can you imagine? The longest, most powerful runways, I think 8 feet of concrete down, and we gave it all up, spent billions and billions of dollars years ago building it, 1 hour away, and we're gone, and now China occupies it. Today marks the 3-year anniversary of the terrorist attack at Abbey Gate. Now, we say Abbey Gate, a lot of people don't know what that means. It means Afghanistan. That left 13 American service members dead, dozens more badly wounded, and many innocent civilians also killed and injured, hundreds of people killed. Never been anything like it. It's the wrong base. Shouldn't have taken the soldiers out first. Should have taken the soldiers out last. That's where you'd want to be. They took the soldiers out first, and they had a field day at our expense and our reputation. We will never forget those brave warriors who made the supreme sacrifice for our country. They will live in our hearts forever. And to all the Gold Star families, our gratitude is everlasting, will be everlasting always. We will honor their memory by restoring a government that puts the American people first. Caused by Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, the humiliation in Afghanistan set off the collapse of American credibility and respect all around the world. And the fake news doesn't want to talk about it. They don't even talk about the 3-year anniversary. Terrible word to use, but that's what they're calling it, an anniversary. It's really, I think of anniversary as a little bit different, but it's 3 years now. And the fake news doesn't even talk about it. Our country will never be safe again until we have fired those responsible for this disaster. Nobody fired. Worst, most embarrassing, in my opinion, the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. It gave us Russia going into Ukraine. It gave us the October 7th attack on Israel, because it gave us lack of respect. We're not respected. We were respected very much 4 years ago. We're not respected now. The voters are going to fire Kamala and Joe on November 5th, we hope. And when I take office, we'll ask for the resignations of every single official. We'll get the resignations of every single senior official who touched the Afghanistan calamity to be on my desk at noon on Inauguration Day. You know, you have to fire people. You have to fire people when they do a bad job. We never fire anybody. You got to fire them. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. You did a lousy job. You did a terrible, terrible disservice to our country. You get fired when that happens. Nobody got fired. Nobody ever gets fired in this administration. It's amazing. All the bad things that have happened, nobody ever gets fired. Problem is, when you fire somebody, they always end up writing a book about you, you know? I've had more books written about me. I fire a lot of people when they don't do a good job. I get a book written about me by all these losers that get fired. Every crisis Kamala and Biden have created on the world stage can turn around very quickly, and we're going to turn it around. But only we need strong leadership. We need a big victory. November 5th will be the most important day, my opinion, in the history of our country. Be the most important day. In 4 short years, thank you, under the Trump administration, we rebuilt, you know it better than anybody, rebuilt the U.S. military. We obliterated ISIS. So ISIS was going to take 5 years. Sir, I don't know if you're going to be able to do it in 5 years. 5 years. We have those beautiful jets for $150 million apiece, and they have knives and rifles. I don't understand why. You know, I traveled, you know that, I traveled to Iraq. Late at night, I got in, I traveled. They said, sir, would you do us a favor? What? Close your windows. We're turning off the lights. We're getting ready to land in Iraq, at a great base in Iraq. And I went because I wanted to see why we're not winning against ISIS. We've been fighting them for 20 years. And I was told by my Washington, D.C. generals that it will take 5 years. 5 years, sir. I said, I don't get it. And I went there and I met real generals. And you know the story, you probably heard the story, but I had one in particular, Raisin Cane. I said, Raisin Cane, your name's Raisin? Yes, sir, they call me Raisin Cane. What's your first name, Dan? I said, but they call me Raisin, sir. So your name's Raisin Cane? Yes. I love you, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Raisin Cane. And anyway, we sat down and we had a meeting. He said, would you like to rest? No, I don't need resting. Unlike other people that we know, we don't need to rest. He'd rest and then leave. There'd be no meeting. I said, let's go now. I said, how do we beat these guys? Sir, we can do it quickly. They said, no, they say it's going to take a long time. How can you do it? 4 weeks, sir. What? We can do it in 4 weeks, sir. They didn't use our resources. They wanted to be politically correct. They didn't fly out of areas where they thought the country may be a little angry at us, even though we support those countries. And we can do it in 4 weeks, sir. Well, what are you going to do? We're going to have auxiliary airports for, military ports. You know all about them. Sort of portables, I think he called them, but they're out in the desert all over the place. We want to use them, and we'll use here. But they wanted to fly from here, and it's a long distance, sir. By the time we got there, we had to come back. I said, so what would you do? He said, well, I'd leave from 7 places, and we'll hit them from the left, we'll hit them from the right, and we'll hit them underneath and on top. We'll hit them so much they won't know what the hell is happening, sir. In 4 weeks, we'll do it, sir. 4 weeks? They said 5 years. 4 weeks is all we need, sir. And that's what it took. Can you believe it? I said, go ahead. I made a couple of phone calls first. I said, is this guy serious? Is he serious? He did it. He knocked it out. He knocked it out. So I could tell you about some of those, what a period of time that was. And I tell that story sometimes because I want to just say we have an unbelievable military when we have the right leader. We have an unbelievable military. Really true. And they're not going woke. Maybe a few people on top are woke, but those guys, they'll never be woke. They could be put in a room and preached to for the rest of their lives that they won't go woke. And we know them. I saw them what they did. I saw what they did with ISIS. We knocked out 100% quickly of the ISIS caliphate because we decided to fight. We have the greatest people in the world. We have the best equipment in the world. Now, we did give about $85 billion worth of it to Afghanistan. You know that Afghanistan is one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They sell the stuff that we stupidly left them. We left them $85 billion worth of brand new tanks and planes and even goggles. They didn't fight at night. You know why? They couldn't see. Now they can fight at night. It's not even believable how stupid these people were to allow this to happen to our country, and we became a laughing stock all over the world. And we buried 13 soldiers. They never mentioned the 45 soldiers that just were so badly hurt, obliterated, legs, arms, face. They don't mention. We left Americans behind. We left all of that equipment behind. And if we would have left from Bagram, where you have hundreds of acres, as opposed to a small little airport in the middle of the city, where everybody just came in and it was a mess, you wouldn't have had any of the problems. But you should have again taken the military out last. If I asked a 5-year-old child, what do you think? Here's the facts. Give me 1 minute. Would you take the military out first or last? Sir, I take the military out last, of course. But our guys didn't do that. But I just, it's embarrassing to even talk about it. And I wasn't there. You had another group there. But it's a very big embarrassment because I love the country. I want our country to be respected. And we lost a lot of respect at that moment. And it was so easy. It was so easy because we were getting out, but we were getting out with strength and dignity. Think of it. 18 months, not one soldier was killed under mine. And I spoke to Abdul. I told Abdul, you can't do that. You can't do it. It's going to be bad, Abdul. And he said, Your Excellency, but why do you send me a picture of my house? Oh, did I send that to you? I didn't. Did I send you a picture? Did I send you a picture? I don't remember that, Abdul. But and honestly, he was fine. 18 months, not one, they were knocking out our soldiers one by one, especially under Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. They were knocking out our soldiers one by one, snipers. We didn't have one soldier killed, even shot at, in 18 months. And then these guys took over, and big lack of respect. But they had a lot of respect for us during that period. Think of that. Isn't that amazing? Not one soldier was shot at, let alone killed. Nobody killed. But I'm proud to be the first president in decades who started no new wars. And the reason I started no new wars is they respected the people in this room. It's true. You don't want to have wars. I ended wars. I could have been like in a mess like you have right now. You have every place. The whole world is blowing up. You'd have World War III if something doesn't happen fast. And that's going to be a world war like no others because of nuclear power and other power that's out there. But we had no wars. Very proud of that. I just finished a couple of wars, and I got troops out between Turkey. If you take a look, Turkey and Syria. Remember, we had 5,000 soldiers in between two armies. And I took them out. I said, wait a minute. I called a couple of generals. They said, how do 5,000 soldiers do when you have one army of 400,000 people, another army of 300,000 people, and they're in the middle? Can they do well? They say, it's not going to be good, sir. I say, get them the hell out of there. That border's been there for 2,000 years. They've been fighting over it. The fake news back there, they hit me hard. They said, he removed. You know what happened? Nothing. They just kept it the way it's been for 2,000 years under different names and saved a lot of lives. Would have been bad, but I did a lot of that. And I was very good at using a telephone. We didn't have to send soldiers and kill everybody, although we had some of that too. You know that with Russia, where they came at us. I said, can't do that. Came at us again. I said, you can't do that. They came at us the third time, and you know what happened? A lot of people don't talk about it, but they know about it, and they learn not to play around with us. They learn that because, again, we are the best. But we're not going to be the best for long if it keeps going like it is right now. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. I'll get it settled very fast. I don't want you guys going over there. I don't want you going over there. And I'm the only candidate in this race who can make this promise. I will prevent, this is for the spouses, I will prevent World War III. Nobody else is going to prevent it. You're going to end up in World War III. Look at what's going on right now with Ukraine. They're surging into Russia. Okay? You're going to end up in World War III. And it's going to be a bad one. When I'm president, America will be respected again, respected like never before. They were respected 4 years ago. You know, Viktor Orban from Hungary, Prime Minister, he's known as a very tough leader, tough man, good man, but a tough man, one of the toughest in Europe. And they asked him a little while ago, why is it that the whole world is blowing up? He says, because President Trump isn't the president of the United States. If he were the president of the United States, none of this stuff would be happening right now. None of it at all. And I believe that's true. That's true. For that to have happened is crazy. I'll take immediate action to restore our depleted military. You know, we don't have any ammunition again. Do you remember when I first came in? They said, sir, right? I see that guy. Sounds like you were pretty much involved with trying to fill it up. I like that guy. I don't know who the hell he is. Stand up. Let me see. Stand up. He's like central casting. But come on, stand up right there. That's good. I like that guy. It's true, though. True. We had no ammunition. I took over. They came to my door. Sir, how are we doing militarily? We have a problem, sir. What is it? We have no ammunition. That's a lousy thing. You know, you're running a country. We got enemies. And, you know, if you have the smart president, you'll be able to do fine. But you don't want to tell your enemy you have no ammunition. I don't want to tell President Xi of China we don't have ammunition. But before that, they came out with a report, before I got there, saying that the United States has no ammunition. I said, who would release a report like this? Even if it's true, you don't talk about it, right? We do a lot of reports that are stupid reports, like a report that came out a couple of weeks ago that we would lose in a war with China. You saw that report? We're not going to lose in a war with China. That we would lose in a war with China. How stupid are these people that would put a report like that? If you feel we're a little weak, you got to strengthen it up. But you don't do reports that we're going to lose to China in a war. Stupid people do that, like the people that are in office right now. So I had, and you will say it, I had ammunition. We had so much it was coming out of our gills, right? I had ammunition. Oh, I said, what the hell do we do with all this ammunition? We had so much. And now we don't have ammunition again. We gave it all away to different groups, but mostly into Ukraine. And we don't have ammunition. We had so many missiles, we didn't know if we could fire them all. We had to hire teams of people, even the concept. We had so much. Warehouses were full. We took new warehouses. And now we're back to a point where we have no ammunition again. These people are just so destructive. So, you know, I always look for good words. Highly sophisticated. I'm highly educated. I like sophisticated words, but there's only one word I can't. Stupid. They're stupid people. I'd like to say, I guess you could say incompetent. Sounds maybe a little better. I don't know. Which is better, being stupid or being incompetent? Because they're both. So we have no ammunition again, but we'll get it taken care of. Boy, oh boy. Can you imagine if they wanted to go after us? Can you imagine that? And we're saying they have no ammunition. This was just released a little while ago. We give so much of it away. We never get anything for it either. You know, Europe, by the way, is much more and should be much more concerned, obviously, with the Ukraine situation than us. But we've spent $150 billion more. Why do we spend $150 billion? Why aren't they going to equalize? They should equalize. I told them, I said, you got to equalize. They don't like, you know, then I read, Barack Obama is much more popular than Donald Trump. Of course he is. He said, we'll spend all the money. I say, you got to pay up. And that's what happened. I got NATO to pay up hundreds of billions of dollars. But then, now we've lost it again because I'll bet you nobody's ever asked Europe to pay up. They don't even ask. I'll bet you that nobody said to Europe, we're 150 billion more than you. They have about the same size economy when you add all of the different nations up as us. And nobody has said to them, got to pay up. I did that. I was with NATO. They were way behind. Of the 28 nations, almost all of them were not paid. Other than that, they were doing quite nicely, thank you. But we had like 7 that were paid, and the rest weren't. And Obama came in, made a speech. Bush came in, made a speech. I came in and said, you guys owe us a lot of money because we were spending our money. So think of it. They take advantage of us on trade because they are horrible to us on trade, the European nations, horrible. They don't take our farm products. When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in the middle of Germany? Maybe never. I said to Angela, do you have any Chevrolets or Fords in the middle of Munich? No, I don't think so. But we have plenty of Mercedes-Benzes and BMWs and Volkswagens, millions and millions of cars. So they get us in the military, then they get us on trade. So on top of everything else, it's not a good way. So I was straightening it all out. It was getting straightened out very quickly. And very interesting, though, I said, who would do this? Who would do this? Hundreds of billions of dollars we lose in the defense of Europe. All I say is, let's equalize, we'll help you. But you owe us $150 billion. And during one meeting, I remember NATO, one of the heads of one of the countries, I won't embarrass him by saying which one, but we had 28 countries gathered around the table. It was sort of a semi-secret meeting, which nothing's secret in this world, but some of the press didn't want to report it because it was a good story. But one of the leaders stood up and said, so does that mean he wasn't paid? He owed us billions. Does that mean if we don't pay you, you're not going to defend us against Russia? I said, that's what it means. Are you saying you're delinquent? Well, I don't know about that word. That's a real estate word. Very simple word. It means you're not paid. You're saying you're delinquent. Yes, let's say we're delinquent. Will you defend us? I said, absolutely not. I took so much heat from the fake news media. Now, if I said, yes, I will defend you, they're not going to pay. What happened is hundreds of billions of dollars came pouring in. Because I said that. Hundreds of billions of dollars came pouring in. And they have money, but this should not be happening. This mess that's going on over there now is very dangerous, and it shouldn't be happening. I'm the one that got them the money. Literally hundreds of billions of dollars came right in. Guys that were not paying for years, but other presidents never even asked them for the money. They'd make a speech and leave. I was getting ready to make a speech. I said, let me see some statements. I looked at them and said, nobody's paying. We paid for everybody. We were keeping it solvent. One of my proudest achievements in my first term was to create Space Force, the first new branch of the armed forces in over 70 years. It's a big deal. Now that Space Force is up and running, I agree with your leadership. You want this very badly, but I agree that the time has come to create a Space National Guard as the primary combat reserve of the U.S. Space Force. Very good. Right? Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So as president, I will sign historic legislation creating a Space National Guard into law. I spoke to somebody that's a great guy, very much a fan of yours, Marco Rubio. I said, what do you think? He said, I love this. I love it. I love it. So we're going to do that. Space Force has been very important. Very, very important. When I did that, Other people came in, they wanted to end it, and they were just hammered because people realized how important. We were getting just destroyed in space, and now we're leading. We are leading with all of the major metrics in space. Russia and China were killing us because we didn't really have a focus on it. And once you did that, we have a focus, and now we're leading in space. Throughout the armed forces, we will make a historic investment in building a U.S. military for the 21st century, investing heavily in drones, robotics, artificial intelligence, hypersonics. You know, hypersonics was us. Somebody stole the stuff, and Russia ended up making them. But we're making them now. But Russia ended up making that super speed missiles. They go about 7 times faster than a regular missile, which is quite fast. And we're going to build a great Iron Dome for missile defense around our nation. Other countries have it. Israel has it. You know, Ronald Reagan wanted this many years ago, but we didn't have the technology at that point. But now we have the technology, so we're going to do the great Iron Dome, and it's all going to be built in our country. We're going to build it right here. And as your Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure that the National Guard members have access to train on the same state-of-the-art equipment as active duty forces. We're going to make sure about that. And I'll also get you reinforcement for allies abroad, making them pull their weight. They have to do that, and they have to pay their fair share, as I was saying. And for years, all of these NATO countries spent far less than 2% of GDP on their militaries, leaving our forces overstretched. We were the ones making up the difference and paying for it. To make up for shortfalls and help deter threats, I'll insist that every NATO nation must spend at least 3%. You have to go up to 3%. 2% is the steal of the century, especially when we're paying for it. You know, we pay for them. It's just not even believable. For most NATO countries, this will represent a defense budget increase of about 30%. And I guess if you take a look at their numbers are starting to dwindle because of all the money they're spending in Ukraine. Starting on day one, I will confront the recruiting, retention, and moral. When you talk about the crisis that you have a morale crisis, because I think it's a country crisis. I think morale is about the leader of the country. I really do. I think, you know, you can only do so much. They have to be proud of their leader. They have to be proud of their country. They have to believe in their country. They have to believe in the American dream. You're going to have a morale problem, and that's what you have. You have a morale problem. We will get critical race theory and left-wing gender insanity out of the armed forces and totally out of the United States military. And we'll take care of our amazing veterans better than anybody. In my first term, I gave the VA choice and made it permanent. You know, VA choice, where you don't have a doctor, you go outside. I mean, people were waiting for 4 months, for 5 months. You people probably know it. You have friends that know it very well. They go in for something that was not a big deal, and they'd end up being terminally ill because they couldn't get to see a doctor. So I created and have VA choice. They've been wanting to do it for 57 years. I got it done. Passed in Congress. And as you know, they now go in, if they can't get rapid service, we call it rapid service, then they go to an outside doctor, they get themselves fixed up, and we pay the bill. And it's been great. It's been great. But I understand that Biden wants to terminate it. He wants to go back to the old system where you wait for 9 months and then you die. It's not even believable. No, they want to terminate it. Now, after this speech, they won't. You know, every time I come in and say what really bad things, they end up, like I said, no tax on tips. And it caught on like crazy. No tax on tips. This doesn't affect you guys. You're not big for tips, okay? You don't need tips. But there are a lot of people that no tax on tips is a big deal. And I said, no tax on tips. I went 2-3 months. All of a sudden, she's making a speech, and they were just the opposite. They were going after tip income, which is pretty hard to go after, in all fairness. And she's making a speech. She goes, oh, and by the way, no tax on tips. And it didn't play well for her. But they do that. Now, on VA choice, you watch what's going to happen. They'll end up saying, oh, we want to keep VA choice. but they don't. They're not competent, and they don't. But VA choice has been one of the great, and the other is VA accountability. Do you know what that is? VA accountability. The veterans had some horrible, horrible people in there, sadists, bad people. They treated our veterans very badly because they weren't in prime time. You know, in prime time they wouldn't have talked to them that way, but they weren't in prime time, and they were sadists and a lot of other things. Thousands, 9,000 of them. And it was a shocking act of betrayal. We had to we fired 9,000 people that were bad, and we replaced them with good people. And then Kamala and Biden gutted those reforms after they got in, and they tried to reinstate many of the people that were fired for good reason, because they weren't treating our veterans. They were sadists in many cases, vicious people. And then they gave them the option to come back or get a massive $200 million buyout. Can you believe this? Of people that treated our veterans badly. You know, I had the highest number, 92% approval from our veterans. It's the highest number by far ever. Now it's in the 40s. And it didn't take long to get there, but we had 92% approval rate from our veterans. Upon my inauguration, we will take the sadists that Kamala Harris let in and escort them from the VA hospitals and get them the hell out of our federal buildings and away from our great men and women.